The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. Have a large credit card balance after the holidays? Let Navy Federal Credit Union help you rebalance your priorities. Learn more at NavyFederal.org.
Wanted to ask you something, and then I think I know the answer, so maybe not. There's been a movie made with you portrayed in it. What, before that ever happened, if you wanted to have someone play you, who would you have wanted?
Okay, so that's a great question. And when Clint Eastwood actually asked me that question, and I was like, man, I never really think about it, but it has crossed my mind once in a while, right? And I was like, Sandra Bullock is the person that I think of, right? Because she's the girl next door. She can be goofy, she can be serious, she can be like gentle and loving, that kind of thing. And so I felt like that was a dynamic, and he's like, okay, well, and he was like, oh, that's not. It's like, well, first of all, this is like, at the time, we're going to have a much younger Taya than she was, and she's also very expensive for a film, right? Like, she's so, yeah.
But she's so good.
She is good. But
so I remember when the filming was going on, and you and I were texting about this, and you had texted me someone, and I, at the time, didn't know who it was, and I had to Google them, and it was someone that you thought would be good for you. Okay. And every time I see her now, I think of you.
Who's it?
Anna Kendrick.
Oh, that's because a lot of people think that. I hear that a lot, yes. And
I mean, looks and personality-wise on film is a lot like you. Yeah. I mean, who knows?
We're doing The American Wife, it looks like anyway, sort of a made-for-TV film kind of series thing or whatever. If in a perfect world, I'm really hopeful. I'd like to do sort of a series with other wives. I think it'd be super fascinating to show their stories in a similar fashion.
That would be awesome.
I mean, it'll be unique no matter how we do it, and it'll be good. But it'll be interesting to see who they pick for that. I haven't even really thought about it yet.
Oh my gosh.
She'd be good, probably.
Anna Kendrick has to be you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a connection?
No. But anyone who has a connection to
Anna Kendrick, please call in.
I mean, even in her Hilton commercials, I see her and I'm like, that's Taya.
Okay, I need to Google that.
Yeah.
How about when she sings? Is that what you Why are you laughing, Melanie?
Because I'm pretty sure you and I sound the same for singing.
Pretty sure, yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so do y'all have a 9-minute question?
What's the craziest fashion trend you've ever rocked?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so in high school, I had these Converse, but they were a special edition Batman. So they were black Converse high tops with yellow like insignias all over them with the bat in them. I don't know that that's crazy, but that stands out as one of my favorites. I was on the fence if I should even give them away. But you know, I feel like I've done pretty much I've taken all those opportunities to be adventurous in my fashion. Bangs? Oh, I've done the high ratted up bangs. Not super high. I wouldn't say like 80s
White
film.
Rain?
Definitely not White Rain. No, I wasn't that far out of the box, but I feel like I'd like to do, you know what I really want to do is, I love hats, I'm a hat freak, but they have these hats now that it's like a top hat, but for a woman, and they're like black and really cool and velvety. I'm gonna have to show you a picture, but I keep thinking I'm on the verge of rocking that thing.
Oh
I'm just thinking the outfit will be really subdued, but it'll just be like all about the hat and some boots.
Funny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'll just send you a picture.
So one thing, because I think we're like in a lot of ways, but so opposite in a lot of ways too.
And one of the opposite of you. What am I opposite
One
about?
of the things that we are so opposite about is you love pranks. And you like to be scared and to scare people.
Yeah. Well, true. I don't love to be scared, but I do like to scare other people.
I absolutely hate to be, like, it makes me, it's really probably the only thing that will make me very angry.
That's a good, I'm glad you got it.
I mean, very angry.
Yeah.
Not funny angry. Like, I will be very angry.
Yeah.
I don't like to be scared or pranked.
Yeah.
And,
you're like, not the angry where everybody laughs. It's
yeah, no, like,
this
where
is
everybody
gets the hell out of my house.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk to them ever again.
Wow.
Yeah, no,
that's really serious.
It's real serious. But I remember you telling me, I think it was April Fool's Day, like a couple of months after we all lost Chris. Yeah. And you did some prank on the family, and I don't even remember what it was. But I'm like, holy shit.
Yes.
How can she... What's your favorite prank you've ever pulled?
Okay, the thing is, I am not good with dates, and so it oftentimes sneaks up on me. And probably the most elaborate one I did is because I worked for this boss when I lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We worked at the newspaper, and we had these cubicles, whatever. And I was friends, so she was my boss, and I was friends with her boss. And so I went to him and I said, listen, we're thinking of this elaborate prank. Are you in? And he said, yeah, absolutely, right? And she was one of those bosses who, feisty, spunky, blonde, cute, petite, you know, but she was on fire, and some people loved her, and some people felt like she was a little bit abrasive to her. Yeah. But she played elaborate pranks on other people, which kind of got me thinking ahead of time. So we were in sales, and my friend and I went to the liquor store, and we bought a bunch of those little liquor bottles, and then he called, so her boss, his name is Michael, called her in for a meeting so that she was out of her little area, and we took these half-empty bottles and we hid them all over her, you know, in her files and in her drawers or purse, you know, and all this stuff, right? And so he goes in, she goes in and he says, Kathy, I am sorry, but, you know, I've gotten reports. People say that they smell alcohol on your breath while you're working, and I think we have a little bit of an issue here. And she goes, what? Are you kidding me? Right? And she's like, I'll call HR right now, you know, da, da, da. He's like, no, let's just, I believe you. I think just to cover my own, you know, but if I can just go take a peek in your office, give it the all clear, we'll move on. And she goes, yeah, absolutely. So we're all sitting at our desks, and she goes stomping by, right? She's a big person, stomping by around the corner to her desk, and so he starts looking. Well, she's a little bit shorter, and you can just hear her, you know what? And she's starting to get, you know, whatever. And so we had to peek over the top a little bit to point just barely, you know, but she's so where the bottles were. So eventually he opens the drawer and he goes, oh, Kathy. And he pulls out like one or two that are half empty or whatever. And she goes, you know what? You could take this job. And she throws her pencil against the wall. And we were like, April Fools. Like we popped over the top, you know, we were cracking up. But it's like one of those jokes that was good until it was almost not good. Where she was like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But then the other ones are just like, probably,
so funny.
I'll tell you one more that was with my neighbor. This is the one after Chris died that it's the day snuck up on me. And one of my friends, I told them that this property they were looking at in town to build this house, and they had looked forever. He's like obsessive about it. And I was like, oh, hey, did you hear? And he's like, what? They were at my house, and I was like, you didn't hear about the neighborhood? And he goes, no. I said, oh my gosh, I don't want to be the one to break it to you, but there was a fire. And he's like, what? And I said, I'm pretty sure your lot is gone. Like it's like it burned out, you know, like it's, and he goes, oh my gosh, I didn't hear that. And I said, I would call your realtor. She probably knows, like it's been all over the news or whatever. So he calls the realtor.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, hey, what's going on with my property? Like, what about the fire? Like, what do I, you know, whatever. And she's like, what? And as he's doing it, I'm cracking up and laughing. I'm like, April Fools. And he's like, oh, okay. All right. Looks like, you know, just stupid stuff like that.
That's
and
funny.
then, okay, the last one, and then I'll stop. But see, you got me on a topic that I love. There was people think it's really bad the one I did against Chris when he was alive. Do you know that one?
About what?
I got the kids. Mind you, this guy scared me all the time, okay?
Yeah.
Chris scared me all the time, so this was a revenge.
I think you told me this, but let's...
Okay, so like it was a last minute thing too, and I told the kids, I'm like, listen, mommy's gonna lay on the floor. And I put my legs like where he could see him if he came around the corner. I said, go wake up Daddy, don't laugh, and say, Daddy, Mommy hit her head. And she's bleeding in the kitchen. She's so sick. I don't know. Anyways, they pulled it off perfectly. He comes running out, you know, in his boxers and just like slides around the corner. He's like, oh my God, babe. And he like comes over, and I just turn over and I start laughing. And
oh my gosh.
He's like, y'all are sick. He's like, you're sick. You're sick, woman, you know. And so yeah, I don't know, all kinds of things. I pranked somebody that there was a weirdo at my house, and he dropped lunch with everybody and was panicked finding his car to get home.
Oh my gosh, that is so
I don't know.
funny.
My jokes are really cruel, though. I think I'm starting to hear myself, and they're really not nice. So I'm glad to know that you don't like to be scared in general. And then
I hate to be scared, but I think it's funny that you like to be scared.
Sort of.
I would never scare you, but I think your stories are funny.
If you scared me, I would probably poop my pants because it would be so unexpected. You're like this angelic healer, and then if the healer scares you, you're screwed, right? Like, it means the universe has gone off its axis,
right?
And we're all in a big, big way. Yeah, my daughter used to do that to me. She used to hide behind doors because she was trying to make me laugh after Chris died, but I was already so edgy.
Oh my gosh!
And she would hide behind doors and do it. And I finally was like, "You cannot scare mommy now.
Yeah,
I know
stop.
it's funny, but like now is not the time."
Yeah.
And she was like, "Hey, mommy, I'm sorry." It's like, no, it's fine. There'll be a day where you can make me pee my pants.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, Axe and Addie love to scare me, and it drives me absolutely bonkers.
Right, which is why they like.
But
to do
I'm
it.
very observant, so I usually catch them
Yes.
right before I know it's coming,
Uh-huh.
but I still don't like it, and I'm like, ugh.
Okay, so.
And now they tell on each other. Like the other day.
Oh.
Addie was planning to scare me, and Axe came running up to me, and he whispered, "Addie's around the corner."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, and so I pretended like I was scared.
Oh, that was nice of you.
So I gave her
nice
her
of you.
thrill.
Yes, yes.
But
So
yeah.
wait till they get older, because my son one time, he went on a belly crawl into the bedroom,
My gosh.
under the bed, up around behind the headboard.
Oh my
And
gosh.
scared my mother out of her freaking mind.
Oh my gosh.
Which was pretty amazing, but yeah.
So that reminds me of a story Marcus and Morgan have with
Yeah.
each other. I think it was Marcus that hid, but they had a waterbed
Yeah.
that they shared.
Yeah.
And I think this is how the story goes. Marcus was laying, what do you call that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like sideways.
Okay.
And underneath the pillows. So but this was when they were in like high school, and
Yeah.
he was little bitty, and he could fit underneath
Uh-huh.
the pillows
Mm-hmm.
with the blankets pulled over.
Amazing.
And Morgan came in to go to sleep, and Marcus jumped, like, grabbed
Awesome.
it.
Awesome.
And scared the living
So
shit out of
that
him.
so that was probably a little bit of a tangle for a little while.
But I picture that, and I think it's
Oh my
so
God, that's
funny.
amazing.
I love other people of
Yeah.
other stories, but not.
I feel like I want them to reenact that somehow. Your beds are bigger.
Yeah.
The guys are bigger.
They really should.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a little bit of a different
Reaction.
situation since they're both trained like really well. Now. Might have to
Yeah.
have some paramedics around. I don't know.
Okay, so I think we have a question from Patreon, do we?
We do.
I just got a notification.
I'm going to pull it up right now. Randy asks, if you were to do the State of the Union address, you were going to be the president, what would the topics be that you choose?
That's a really good question for the State of the Union address. I don't know. Look, I'm going to come at this from a parenting point of view. I would start talking about how we respect people. I would talk about really if we want to be leaders, we need to act with some decorum in the Capitol and with these meetings and try to set better examples. I mean, that's the parent in me probably. I think that I really think that there should be term limits all the way around for all of these people. So I know that the State of the Union would not be the time to do it, but that if I think of the things that I would really like to shed light on, it would be that. I would obviously
out.
Banned for life. Yeah,
Like,
banned
she's
for
gone.
life. Yeah. I don't even think the Democrats like her. I really think she's like a mafia boss.
Yeah.
There's something that she's got to hold or something on everybody because they're embarrassed by it.
Right.
So something's not right there. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is. All due respect with whatever she's doing to stay there, but yeah. And I would change definitely some things about the military and so forth. So if I could do those changes and then make the address to, say it all, but I don't know. Right now, I don't know. I think I would just give people hope that the economy is good, and I would be celebrating that. And I would talk about how we need to come together, and it's okay for us to have differing opinions, but I would look at what we can celebrate. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that are going really well right now. And I don't know. I mean, if I was going to have some people stand up, I think I would really celebrate all the legal immigrants that we have coming to this country. I think it's super cool, and I have no idea why we don't pay more attention to that, but I would have a total celebration about the numbers of people who are going through our process to be here legally. Because it's amazing. That's why we're still the melting pot. It happens every day, but we don't talk about it. We're just so focused on people who are illegally here as if that's the issue. So, and I'm not trying to get into that issue. I'm just saying it almost is presented in a way that negates the fact that we do have people coming into the country every day.
Yeah.
They're here legally citizens. It's great. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good point. Awesome. Okay, so if we'll get started into the actual interview, and I think we should just have it very conversation style, and we can start off with a lot of people don't know you pre 2013.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, I've been blessed with getting to know you and your family and everybody, and I love hearing about you and your growing up and you going off to college and just being adventurous and taking risk, and if you will, just tell the listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I do think when I look back, I was definitely a weird mix of adventurous and sort of fearful about certain things, but definitely more adventurous and willing to risk in spite of any fear in order to have some of those thrills. And I grew up in Oregon, which I loved, and I look back now and I think what a blessing it was to have such a diverse group of people around me, artists. I think I love the beauty of it, but I also feel like I was never, and even when I was growing up there, which is weird because I was born there, I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there, and it was just rainy and gray a lot of the year, and for whatever reason, so I left when I was 18, and I've never lived there since. I do like going back to visit, and I love going in the summer, but I went to school in Wisconsin, and I had a lot of actually really hard experiences in high school. I was suicidal in high school, which I don't think people who know me would know that even. I'm not even sure if my best friends knew it. And I look back and I know exactly why, and I didn't know how to stand up for myself, and I cared for people deeply, and so I got roped into some things that were, looking back, pretty emotionally abusive, but I didn't realize it because I was just so. I'm very protective of my own kids that way, where, I actually, I took your advice of giving them an incentive not to date anyone seriously through high school. I'll take them on a dream trip. I tell everybody that. It's the most amazing thing ever. It gives them the out, right? Mm-hmm. So it gives them an incentive to take care of themselves and figure out who they are before they start taking care of somebody else. That was the big trap for me, is I was able to take care of somebody else, but I negated the opportunity. I missed the opportunity to take care of myself and figure out what that was like. So college was an extension of that. I was, dating the same guy that, looking back, it was harmful with his family too. It wasn't, just him. It was a whole situation, and his family had their own dysfunction and all this stuff. It looked like the perfect family from the outside, which is a mind screw. So those were hard years. And then when I went to school in Wisconsin, I always have this tendency to think I'm going to go on this great adventure and it's going to be amazing. And I feel like something in my life is almost destined to say no. And that's true for everybody, right? We all suffer, but I've really been surprised at how horrible some things have been along the way. And yet, looking back, I also realized that I love that I got to experience that then, get it out of the way, and now I'm who I am, and I've learned a lot. But yeah, I graduated with economics and business, major in economics, minor in business, and then I went to work right away and loved it. I couldn't wait to get out of college and go to work. I was so ready to be out in the world doing things, and so my interests like psychology and stuff like that, to do what I wanted to do, I would have had to stay in longer. And I find that fascinating, because the things that you're interested in, you kind of always are. So I'm still interested. I don't have my doctorate in psychology, but I still am all about that world, right? And then after that, I just thought, my mom would always say, you're going to move to Wisconsin and you're never going to come home. People stay where they're, she could be fatalistic about things, where they go to college. And so I definitely heard that and wanted to make sure she wasn't right. And so after I worked a couple of years, I moved out to Southern California. And
what brought you there?
So my mom grew up in Pasadena, Southern California, and then I had some family in Orange County. And I wanted the LA experience too. So I moved to Long Beach, and I thought, growing up, spending a lot of our summers down there, I loved it, and we had family there, and it felt very natural, but I also just thought it was something I should do in life. Like, I should have that opportunity. I still think there's got to be a time when I'm in New York for a while, because I also want to be, I don't know if I have to live there, but spend a few months, maybe, I don't know. So I definitely still have that adventurous sense, like I know you have. You've traveled the world, and I would love to do that at some point, do more of it, which you've introduced me to a lot of cool places. But yeah, it was a long, painful road. And then I think that when I met Chris, it was a different kind of adventure and a different kind of pain and joy, and it's continued to be that. But really, the joy with him and the love, the way that he was able to love, is extraordinary to me still. And there's a way that it naturally lives on in our kids, which is super cool to see. But I don't know of another man who loves the way that he loves. And maybe I just don't know them that intimately, right? I mean, I don't know them that intimately, but I mean, I feel like I know people well, and I get into their psyche and stuff, but he had a unique way of doing that, and I think, I mean, I don't want to get too sad about it, but I think if Marcus, God forbid, something happened, I think that would be the same for you, because there's something different about the way that he loves, and the way that he loves you in particular.
Right.
It's unlike anything you have experienced.
Like, people that are really good friends with him, they will all say, oh, he loved me. You know, I know his love, but it's like, no, you really don't.
You don't.
Unless you're laying your head next to him at night and having those babies with him and experiencing life at all ups and downs, you don't know.
Yeah, it's true. And the way that, I mean, the things that I see from the outside, the seriousness that he takes his love for you is, I think, part of what, if people are watching, they can tell, right? There's nothing really too big or too small. It's a respect, cherish thing. He has both of those things for you. He also loves to put you up on that pedestal, right? And serve and be romancing you. And I don't know, it's just an interesting mix. And like you said, it's obvious that even though you both coexist really well, that there's so much depth that nobody gets to see, which is, I think, what it also indicates how special it is. So, yeah, so you get it. I think that's and that was definitely the thing that I had to grow the most. That and children really are the two. And I've had a lot of crappy things that I've grown from, but he was the game changer. Mm-hmm. And he's the person that I changed for. And I think I knew that there probably isn't anybody else. I used to laugh at them and say there's nobody else that could have put up with me. You know, nobody else is strong enough to be with me. But I think there was nobody else that was the right mix of things to make me see how I could be better. Mm-hmm. And want to be better for it.
Yeah. Aww.
Yeah, that's okay. That's right. The funny thing is, I was reading self-help books from like high school. I love to develop, but it's a different way when you really truly love somebody and you're ready to have your soul forged for that person is different than just being better and developing yourself, you know?
One of my favorite things I've ever seen about Chris was the home video that you shared with him sitting down with Colton. Yeah. I'm going to cry. Sorry. No. The people that listen to this podcast have to think, like, Melanie's the biggest pussy. Because
you are
bawl my eyes out.
Because you're, like, straight steel as far as strong. You're like steel magnolias, right? You're the soft and the strong.
But he's sitting on the bathroom floor reading to y'all's son, and it was just the sweetest thing, and you could really feel, just by watching that itty-bitty clip, you know, you can feel his love. Yeah. And especially, I'm an empath, so I can see something and immediately feel that, and that, I don't know what it was, 30-second clip that I saw, I was like, gosh, he loves hard.
He does. He loves big. And, you know, it's interesting because you are an empath, which is also why this podcast is good, because you feel, and you're an amazing communicator and storyteller. I've always loved that about you. So I would say that's part of what makes you so amazing and strong, is that emotion. That video was before you went on deployment, and there was an idea people had: read books to your kids so that they can read along with you. And so he did it. He was almost not going to do it. I think it was like the night before he left, and then he decided to do it. But we put the video camera up there on a tripod and walked out so that he could just have that time to do it. But it ended up being this really prophetic, sad thing. And Chris didn't think he was going to come home from that deployment. And so when he was reading to him, it was hard. And I remember him coming down the stairs afterwards, and I could just tell there was such a heaviness in his heart. And he says something at the end of that video, like, just savor one more book, buddy, because I think he says something like, I think you might want this someday if I'm gone, or something like that. And I was like, ugh, it's just but it's so beautiful, and it was calm, patient, that heaviness that you felt was, it was like that gentleness in such a way that is all-encompassing. You felt really, and that was something about him that I was so attracted to, because as strong and tough as he was, he had this way that was so, maybe that's the word, maybe it's just all-encompassing, gentleness. It was like a spirit. It wasn't like gentle. It's like something that, it's almost like a spirit that wraps you up and says, you're okay, you're cared for, you know? I remember even in the beginning when I'd get a little feisty or something, and he'd come up behind me and just put his hand on my back and say, babe, I don't want to fight with you.
Wow.
What can we do? But I could never redo it the way he did it, because it's something with the strong hand and the presence of this funny guy who's gregarious and all this other stuff that he just stops and like wraps you up in this spirit, and then it just felt like everything's okay, and you're like, yeah, okay.
This episode of the show is brought to you by Busuu. If you are looking for a New Year's resolution, I have the perfect one for you. Make learning a language your New Year's resolution in 2021. I've been wanting to learn Spanish for a long time now, but I just haven't had the time, nor haven't found the best way to do it, I guess. But Busuu is an award-winning app that offers a fun, an effective way to learn languages, so I'm gonna have to give it a try, and I think you guys should too. They teach 12 of the world's most popular languages. They've got Spanish, French, Italian, German, Japanese, and several more. The coolest thing about Busuu is that as you follow along their language courses, you're gonna get the opportunity to practice with native speakers through the platform, which means you're gonna get that constant feedback you need, which is so important to help you properly learn a new language. The app also comes with loads of smart features like study plans to help you stay motivated, organized, and vocabulary and grammar training tools built by data scientists and make sure you remember what you learn. With Busuu, you can start learning for free, or you can choose to get one of their premium plans that'll help you unlock even more fantastic features of the app. I can't wait to learn a new language this year. If you guys want to check them out, sign up to Busuu for free by visiting busuu.com/TNQ to supercharge your learning experience. With Busuu's special features, use our code TNQ and you're going to get a 30% discount on Busuu's premium packages. One more time, guys, that's Busuu, BUSUU.com/TNQ, and use our code TNQ if you want that 30% discount on their premium package. Get out there, learn a new language, do something awesome this year.
Do you still feel that?
You know, I used to feel it a lot, and I block it because it makes me sad, but it's just that I miss it. And there's a somebody got me this music box. There was that song Josh Groban, You Lift Me Up, and right after he died, I kept feeling like he was still lifting me up and like helping me go. And there was a time when I had this dream. Oh my gosh, Melanie, it was like the worst and most beautiful dream, but it was so powerful. I couldn't shake it for a while, and I went into heaven, and he was sitting, and this thing was kind of like a dugout, and there was a young girl next to him, and it was like I went in saying, I just want to look at you, like I just want to see your face, because I don't let myself absorb his face too much because it hurts. So the pictures I have that I know are there, I do it. If I see a new one, I can feel a little bit, and I just go, it's cool. I'm just, I manage it. But there was something in me that just wanted to really take him his face, and so he was in this dugout, and he looked at me, and I knew he was there for her, and she was like 13 or something, and he like looked at me in this calm way, like, go ahead and take it in. And so I did, and then he every once in a while he'd look over my shoulder at something just barely and then come back. So I thought there was maybe something going on behind me. Anyway, he let me do it for a long time, and then she got up and he told her something. He said, you're dead. And she said, I don't want to be dead. And then she like fell on the ground and she was crying, and it was like he was helping her pass and saying it's okay. And then I was like, we have to do something, we have to help her. And for whatever reason in my dream, like her body was there, and he goes, it's okay. And I said, can we bury her? Like, can we do something? Like, I can't just leave her here. And so he just sort of indulged me. He was like, we can if you want to. It doesn't matter. Like, she's, And then he laid down next to me. We were in this grass, and he laid down and he just let me put my head on his chest. And I laid there for the longest time, and it was like everything felt like it was, like I could breathe, and it was good, and I was so happy. And then he goes, babe, I gotta go. And I was like, oh, please don't go, but I didn't say that, that's what I felt, but I knew he was giving me more than, like I was getting a gift, and so I just was on my knees, and I sat, on my knees on the grass, and so I just looked at him with tears rolling down my face, like, we was an understanding, like I knew, and he had given me a gift at that time, and then he was walking away, and he looked back, and he said, babe, I said, what did I say? I said, I don't know if I think I was just crying. Yeah, I don't think I said anything. I think it was a feeling. And he goes, I'll see you soon. And he goes, it's a minute. In eternity, it's just a minute. I'll see you in a minute. And I was like, just sat there understanding, and like, he put on these sunglasses and like, just walked off. And I was like, oh God, you know, but I think there was a part of me that was like, I needed to have that time and realize that I don't get it again. But like, have it one more time and like, absorb it and let him walk away. And you know, I think it was good. I thought, well, maybe he's telling you it's time for me to do this on my own. But I don't know if I feel that way anymore. You know, I don't know, because I still feel like sometimes he's around. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I've only shared that dream with a couple of people, but it was so powerful that I can't. I mean, sometimes I almost wonder, like, did I get a spiritual experience, or did I just? Yeah, it's so powerful. I'm overwhelmed whenever I don't think about it much, because it's big.
Who do you think that little girl was?
My impression, it was like, I remember she had this red hair and thick glasses and choppy hair, and it almost seemed like she was, I hate to say it, I felt a sadness for her, like, she was almost went through this world for 13 years being just kind of ignored or not acknowledged, and so it felt like he was sitting with her for a little bit just to give her some time before she had to know that she was dead. Like, she just kind of was sitting there going, like, she didn't know, but he was just being patient with her. And then, I mean, it was definitely nobody I recognized, and I didn't think it was anybody he knew before. And when he was looking over my shoulder, I felt like there was stuff that was going on, that he was knowing he had a job to do, knowing he had something he had to be doing, but wanted to give me that time.
He's still the protector.
Yeah, and that he was, like, helping somebody else transition from maybe an unexpected death. So she was, like, 13, 14, something in there, and it was just like he was just so calm and patient with me, letting me look at him, at the same time calm and patient with her, you know? And just kind of taking care of everybody, and it was like he had more work to do or something.
Oh my gosh.
I know, what's funny? Do we have funny stories we can talk about? That's really heavy.
Okay, well, we don't have to get into, like, everybody knows your story with Chris, you know, and so I don't want this to be about that.
Yeah.
Google it. I mean, if you haven't seen the movie, if you haven't read American Sniper and American Life, and
Barbara Walters has nothing on you, though, because, like, you can get in the whole story, but, like, I don't tell that story to people, but you're very good at it, and it is part of my story. But I will say, you know, we talked about this a little bit before too, that it becomes a part of your story, and it lives in me. But I am different, and I know we talked earlier today about how I looked back at the gravestones, and at the time that we put in Chris's, it was I felt so much pressure to try to get it perfect for him, and since we had talked about a lot of things but not a gravestone, I had no idea what to do. So I ended up getting this, green was his favorite color, and I went to all the details to make it his favorite. And I was thinking, a gift I could give my children, because it was also really expensive, is to just pay for mine, have it done, don't worry about it. If you got enough to carry when somebody you love dies, right? And so I just did it all really from a very practical standpoint, and also because I wanted the children represented with him too. And so we have, you know, their hands.
I love it.
And I really thought about it, and I thought of, in my life, what does my life stand for? And they're going to be the biggest things that, if you want to know me, you'd know I think that's the biggest and most important part of me. And I don't mean it like, I fully anticipate and expect that I am raising them to leave. Like, I do not, I'm not their problem, you know? Not that I'm a problem, but I'm just saying, like, I don't want them to be tethered to me forever just because I love them. I think I love them enough to say, I am giving you my best so that you can be free. Of course,
Which is the hardest job as mom.
Right, yeah, and I think that's, you know, so.
It really is. It's the most difficult job as mom.
Yeah, and I mean, and you're so close with Hunter, so I watched I have for a very long time with Hunter watched how you've navigated life with him, and felt very much like you're a sort of a mentor in that area, or I don't know the word I'm looking for, but my role model. Thank you, role model. Thanking myself for coming up with the word. Thank you, Taya. You're welcome, Taya. Because I do see that you love him so completely, and then you've let him have all these experiences in life, and you have this close school relationship, and I feel like that's very similar to what I have with my kids. And yet, yes, I watched him grow up so fast, right? That I remember having my son little, and my daughter too, but like, just because you had a boy, and I was thinking, what just happened? That's going to happen to me. I'm going to turn around, like that.
It is. I mean, if you think about it, you and Chris were at our wedding.
Yeah.
And Hunter was 12.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's 22.
That's a heartbeat. That's crazy.
I mean, think about that. Like,
I know.
It happens so quickly.
Yeah. It's like that Fiddler on the Roof song where it's like, turn around and she's 4, turn around and she's, And I think because of that, I've actually appreciated, because of Chris's death, because I had a cousin who died young. There are a lot of because, but I really try to cherish the time that I have, and I realize that it's very short. And I think as parents we can get so busy, but I do feel good about that ability to have absorbed as much as I can, and yet I still think that when they go, it was never enough, right?
Yeah.
It was never enough. And you can't go back in time, but I do feel like with that, going back to the gravestone, I look at it and I think it's appropriate that my name is there with the gravestone, because I really feel like that person died a really painful death, but that there's a metamorphosis that happens, and it's been a really good one. And I wish that I wish I knew a lot of what I know now, back then, but I really liked a lot of parts of that girl, right? If I was to say that's me, that girl, I liked her heart a lot, and I liked her sense of humor, and I feel sorry for her that she didn't have more answers on how to do things, and that she didn't know as much about living without fear, and I'm also really happy for her that she at least had the opportunity to turn those tragedies of losing friends early into an appreciation for every minute, that we did have. So it's a mixed bag. It's really weird. I feel very disconnected to that person. It's very
to who you were
before. I do. It's weird. I mean, it truly, I'm so disconnected. I would say it's like, just, it's appropriate. There's a gravestone. It's weird.
Which, totally off topic, but
Good,
we will be buried.
I know, very close to each other.
Yeah,
I know, that's
we're
so
right
cool.
across the sidewalk.
I know, that's so cool. I mean, in life we should have been neighbors for sure, and since we are not, we at least arranged it. In death, our bodies will be like, "What's up, girl?" That's the reason though that Chris is there. It was Rick Perry and Marcus.
Yeah, Marcus was like, "Hell no, we're not going to Arlington."
Yeah,
he's a Texas boy.
Yeah. Oh no, he was like, "Taya's," and I was like, "Oh, I don't know, Marcus. I've never been there." And he was like, "No, that's like where that's where it's happening."
I'm pretty sure you flew out the next day to go down to Austin and look at it. And Governor Perry, acting governor at the time, met you at the airport.
Yeah, but that's the magic of Melanie Luttrell, though. Like, things happen that don't happen in normal people's lives when you're around you. So I said, well, I've never been there. We could drive to Austin, and you're like, no. Right? Like, I'll have a couple of jets waiting for you. But it was pretty being there. I didn't want to bury him somewhere that I hadn't felt. I think you and I are both really big feelers. Like, it's got to feel right, not just look right. And it looked right online, but the feeling there is super peaceful. It's very different than any other.
It's magical.
Graveyard. Yeah, it's a cemetery. Yeah, it's amazing. And the flags that just sort of gently fly in the wind, and there's a little brook, and it's very peaceful. So once I was there, I thought, oh yeah, this is the resting place.
And the people that run it are so good too.
So good.
Like, it's a really good feeling all the way around.
Yeah. And Mel Birdwell will be there too. We're gonna have a great time.
Yeah. I'm not thrilled that I had to pick out my plot by myself.
Oh.
Marcus was supposed to go with me, and he decided to go hunting instead. So
he trusts you?
Yeah. So he still hasn't seen the spot.
So you went by yourself?
By myself. I had to go by myself because we had we were under a time limit to pick it out.
Did it occur to you to just give a girl a holler and like maybe I could have met you down there? It is a long drive, but I would have tried.
This was, I don't
Was it
remember
before Chris died?
I think it was before Chris died.
Okay,
yeah, it was just a weird timing, and anyway, was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Walking,
Yeah.
I think with his name's Harry, that runs the, like, oh yeah, where do me and my husband want to be buried?
Yeah, he's not here, I'll tell him about it.
Yeah, I will tell him, I'll take a picture and send it to him.
That's funny, yeah.
Yeah, but we're literally across the sidewalk.
And you're on the hill instead of flat.
We're on the hill.
Okay, so does the head go down or up? Did you consider these
I
things?
thought head under the tree, feet facing sidewalk.
Okay, yeah, so that makes you on an incline where
Yeah,
your
like
head
a
is
laying
up.
on the grass.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Because otherwise, there's a weird thing that happens. You're like, otherwise you're on your head and then...
Yeah, I don't want to be upside down. I have vertigo.
No, right? I know, you get vertigo. Plus, like, sinusy and just, your feet will fall asleep. There's just so many things that'll happen. I know, it is funny that you think of those things, though. I remember when we were, getting ready to bury Chris, and they don't usually put shoes on people. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
And I thought I was having a really hard time with that. And he had just gotten these brand new boots, and I was like, and they said, well, we don't typically do that. I think it's kind of hard to put the shoes on.
Because if they're swollen or something.
I think. And I was like, well, I feel like he needs his boots.
Yeah,
like what's he
cut
gonna
the back
do?
end of the boot or something. Yeah.
Like, you know they don't need them, but there's this weird thing that happens. And you know the shirt that I put on him, right?
I don't remember.
So, there was so much of Chris that I just loved how he taught me a lot about just you are who you are, man. Like, whatever people think, they think. And so I put him in the, I tried to be very authentic to who he was, and so it was like, jeans and a kind of a plaid dress. But the t-shirt underneath was a white t-shirt, and in black capital letters across, very small, so you'd have to kind of, not very small, but like, I don't know, maybe half an inch or an inch tall letters. It said, do I look like a fucking people person? Oh my gosh. And I put that under the shirt because I was like, if we're going to have part of this open casket deal, you would love that. I was like, there's nothing more.
So funny.
And I thought he would either like that or for me to like, position his hand and flipping people the bird and they came up to look. But I was like, I should be a little more respectful. I'll do the little bit.
There were
covert.
several admirals there. And,
I didn't care about actually the admirals. He probably wanted to flip off some of them. But it was more about an elderly woman, let's say.
Yeah, right.
Somebody who had some class and grace that maybe didn't need to be subjected to that. But I did, that still to this day makes me smile for him. I think he would have really liked that. But anyway, they ended up accidentally burying his boots, and I didn't know it. So there was a misunderstanding. So I remember a few months later I was looking for his boots, and then I called the funeral home, and he's like, I said, do you know where Chris's boots are? And he's like, they're with him. And I was like,
oh my gosh, you're not getting those back.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
He must have made it out. I don't know.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
It was very hard for me. I can't look at people.
Yeah, open
casket.
Yeah.
So when we were there, Marcus was having a very hard time that day, and so I was trying to focus on him and getting him out of the door because he was falling asleep. Very medicated.
Yeah.
Self-medicated.
Yes, exactly.
So
numbing the pain. I get it.
Definitely numbing the pain.
So this would have probably creeped you out too. I mean, I can kind of laugh about some of these things now, looking back. At the time, it felt very, very natural. But I was, I wanted to be with him, of course, and I just got this sense of like I don't know. I didn't care what it looked like. I held his hand for a long, like when we'd have meetings about stuff. It's
my gosh.
We're gonna go in the room where he is, and I'm gonna hold his hand while we're talking. So I mean, that's weird. That's kind of weird. But honestly, at the time, it just felt normal. I'm like, I'm not gonna miss an opportunity to just like. I loved his hands. I'm not gonna miss an opportunity to hold his hand. Aww. But I just think of the people on the outside, like the grace and kindness they showed to act like that's perfectly normal, and absolutely they'll comment
like Walt. Like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah. You know what? It was like the funeral home director. He was like asking me to pick things out, and I was like, can I just go sit with Chris while I'm picking them out? Like, I don't want to just sit in here like he's right there. It's so weird. The mind does some crazy things, and I can only imagine Chris on the other side being like, babe, like, really?
You
seriously?
don't have to hold me right now.
Yeah. It was for me, not for him, though, but totally, I don't know, weird stuff.
There was a lot of funny stories from that week.
Yes. Tell me them, because you were just the calm little magical angel that was around. But
I completely shut the thought of myself off.
Yes.
And I just remember about day 8, you came in, it was either you or your mom, you're like, Mel, there's deodorant in the,
Okay, for the record, you didn't stink and you never have. That's like part of the angelic miracle of you. I'm like, you don't ever have anything like bad breath or body. But I remember thinking, like, can we serve her in any way? Because this woman showed up in her, like, leggings and t-shirt and met, like, every executive at the Cowboys Stadium and whatever. And was like, we're just going to need this.
Yeah,
need
I
that.
looked homeless. I was actually, because it got really cold.
Yeah.
And you gave me one of Chris's sweatshirts.
Yeah.
So, which is obviously very big for me. I'm 5'2".
Yeah, right.
So, I'm in leggings, probably Uggs or something.
Yes, I remember it. Yeah.
And one of Chris's sweatshirts, and pretty sure it looks like I had sex bedhead, like full on rat's nest.
Hey, everybody handles their stress differently, Melanie. Nobody's judging you for that.
Well, no, it was just from not brushing my hair.
Yeah, I know.
For multiple days.
But you have your story, I have mine. Okay,
right?
My story, you and Marcus were getting really stressed.
Yeah, I think Marcus even went home at some point, and I was.
You were just working.
I was just working.
Yeah, you were just making things happen.
Yeah, I was just doing, go to A to B to blah, 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 let's get this done.
But
and
like,
I never
in a way that was
looked
so...
in the mirror. And I'm sure all these people were like, who the fuck is this homeless chick?
No, I think everybody was like, this woman is of another kind, because you just were so selfless in caring for people and making sure things happen with a voice like this, that everything is fine. But like, it's like there's not going to be, nobody's going to take advantage of anything when you're talking. Most people can't pull that off, but you pull it off in a calm, sweet voice, but nobody's going to mess with you, and nobody's going to say it's not going to happen either.
Yeah, well,
it's true.
I mean, it's true, because when we were talking about, like, where to have it, because it was like, okay, the book was doing very well at the time, and it was like, okay, do you want it public? Do you want it private or whatever? And you were like, maybe the high school, the Midlothian High School.
Did I say that? That's funny.
And we thought, like, one of the big churches in Midlothian, and I'll never forget you saying, Chris joked about being, going out on the star of Cowboy Stadium. Yeah. And I'm like, well, let's do it.
Yeah, and I was like, seriously? Do you actually think we get, really? But what else is funny is that, like, we had this part's not funny, our friend died at Christmas right before kind of he did, but the funny part was that we were talking, I said, I bet you'd want like a really small service, and he goes, huh, and I said, well, wouldn't you? I don't know, would you be comfortable with something big? And he goes, I'm dead, right? And I said, yeah, and he goes, yeah, blow it out, you know what I mean? Like,
gosh.
Because he was thinking, if I don't have to be there, you know what I mean, then yeah, go for it, like, do whatever you want to do. So that was also key for me, because I think otherwise I would have felt maybe I wasn't following something he would have wanted. And so, yeah, Cowboy Stadium, we're like, is that weird? Is it disrespectful? Is it cool? Is it whatever? Is it possible? I mean, yeah, good. I think anything's possible around you, but...
well, it's not around me. I mean, it's just the situation and who he was. Yeah. I mean, people wanted to honor him, and...
Jerry Jones, by the way, for whatever people think of him or don't... He was so lovely about all of that, and to this day, it really is a special thing for him. And we're working on getting the Medal of Honor Museum not working on it, it's already planned to be in Arlington, but they had an opportunity, the guy Joe Daniels, who designed the 9/11 in New York Memorial, he was meeting with Jerry, and Jerry still feels like this very strong patriotic connection about that time.
Everyone that worked with that organization bent over backwards and never said no to anything.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was really, really cool. I mean, so many different people orchestrated that, you know, and had a hand in it, but it was really neat to see everyone work together. Yeah.
And such a blessing, by the way, for me to walk away from the casket. The only thing that I could do to walk away was to just take a minute and go, okay, you know what? You're at Cowboy Stadium. Think about how cool this is for your husband, right? That's the thing that got me, because I had to switch something off of what I felt and do something of... So for me, I think, what if that was in a really somber environment? I might not have left. They might be like, you're still waiting for me to come out, you know? So that kind of was a neat thing to think that in some way that would make him happy, you know, or he would be impressed by that, like, whoa, I can't believe you pulled that off. Like, that kind of thing actually ended up being a pretty big blessing for me.
Yeah, that was really neat. I think So Walt actually listens to the podcast. I can't say his last name, but
oh my God, I love him. Yeah,
but he and T listen.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
some of the best people in the world. So major shout outs, and
yeah.
He was just a huge part of that with my kids.
Yeah,
and like so kind, and
just the coordination. I mean, it was for people that don't really understand. It was different because Chris wasn't killed active duty, right. Or he wasn't actively in the military, right. So there wasn't, a Navy Keiko coming to the door. It wasn't like that. But in the end, they did send Walt, and he helped kind of be that liaison, and
and he was somebody that Chris loved. And by the way, just a side note here, this is another thing I've never told anybody else, but there are 2 people there who told me that officers typically don't carry the casket of an enlisted guy.
Oh my gosh.
And they're there, and they look like they're representative, and they have their own big podcast, and everybody thinks that it's a character of a man, can't stand a person. Didn't carry it, right?
Really?
But spoke. And yet somebody, there are other people, like the Walts of the world, and the quiet other people who absolutely, they're that humble, amazing warrior who quietly carry.
So highly ranked, too. Like, who cares about
Nobody.
What the military
It wasn't even a military funeral.
Right, it wasn't.
But by the way, I've heard that's absolutely not true. But
yeah, I have no idea.
I didn't know at the time, so I was like, oh, okay. But I do look at somebody like Walt and T and just think, those are the people that are just 1 in a million too. They're always going to be those quiet, living a good life, humble, best people. And I think Walt, I believe, is the one that my daughter was asking. She had the folded flag, and there were the bullets from the 21 gun salute in there. And she turned to him and said, "Are these the bullets that killed my daddy?"
Oh my gosh.
I know. And he just bent down and was like, looked her in the eye and took her hands, and he said, "No, honey, those are not. Those are in heaven with your dad." And I mean, like, out of the blue, right?
Oh my
like,
gosh,
just, I know.
That's terrible.
Crazy, I know. And it's just like the innocence of kids, but that comfort level to ask somebody that, and
just so she won't be scared of it.
Yeah, he was just a rock for the kids and for me, and I don't know, that whole thing, I mean, there
was a lot of horror stories from that week too.
Yeah.
Like
weird
horrific
stuff.
Things that happened.
Anyway. It brings out the best and the worst.
It really does. Yeah. But one of my favorite memories from that week, and this is only for 1 or 2 listeners, Walt and T.
Yeah.
He's total surfer.
Yes.
And like beach bum in Texas, and so he's like, I have to have cowboy boots. And so we went and got cowboy boots, and I still have the pictures on my phone of
Amazing.
Him picking out his pair of cowboy boots.
Yeah, he has them.
And it's so funny because they came and visited.
Does he bring his boots?
Yeah, and he brings his boots.
Okay,
but
perfect.
it's just so funny because we sad week and a week that we'll never forget. Had some fun memories.
And
too.
if it didn't, I think Chris would have been really disappointed. Like, if there weren't some... He'd been to enough weeks, too, where you have to be super respectful, which everybody was. You have to have your people and care for each other, and then you have to laugh. I mean, if you don't, right? Like, we had to laugh all... there's no sense in any of it if you can't help each other blow off some steam with laughing about something, especially for a guy who laughed all the time. And people don't know that. If they didn't know him and they just see the movie or the book, it was dramatic, so we didn't talk about all the laughing stuff, but he was laughing all the time, which is pretty great. And Walt's son and our son, is funny to watch those 2 together too at Lazy J, and I don't know. Yeah, I think I might still have he doesn't bring a cowboy hat with him, does he? I think that might still be at my house because I couldn't figure out. I need to ship it to him if not. And so next time he needs to wear the hat.
Oh my gosh, how funny!
With a Hawaiian shirt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love them.
Yeah.
Their whole family. So anyway, something since then that I have personally seen in you that has been a big change, and like you say, you're not the person you were before or whatever. You're just not good or bad, but just a different person.
Well, I'm good. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But your faith has grown enormously, and I really admire that. I mean, it's no secret. My faith is how I get by, and I really look up to you and how you use that as your rock. but not just in bad times, like every day. You're recognizing it in good, you're recognizing it in bad. You're always praising our Lord who's given us everything, good and bad.
Yeah.
And your ability to pray for somebody is beyond any of the big TV preachers. Aww. Like, you blow anybody and everybody out of the water.
You might be biased, though.
And I'm not. Like, it doesn't matter what is going on in my life. If I send you a text and say, hey, can you pray for me? Like, and I'll just say 2 words. And you will send this 3-page text prayer that is so on point. And I only gave you 2 or 3 hint words, and it's so on point. And I really feel like God's given you that gift to pray for people. What do you think? I mean, obviously, loss has catapulted that, but what else? Like, who are your mentors that have helped you strengthen your faith?
So, I find it really actually pretty interesting that I can pray out loud like this, because I grew up saying Our Father, but it was more private. My dad prayed at the dinner table, but it was a very similar prayer each night. So what's interesting is I really never did pray out loud until Chris and I, started doing it with the kids before he was killed, and it wasn't something he was very familiar with either. But I remember early on when we lived in California, there was a friend of mine who prayed with me out loud when we were on a walk, and we sat down on the sidewalk, and I thought, that's extraordinary. I've never experienced that, like a friend that just sat with me and prayed. I was blown away. And then my aunt did it another time at our house, and I was like, this is so moving to me. I have to get out of my comfort zone and try to do this for other people. And so that's really what started it, was that I was so touched and so moved in a way that I hadn't been in any other way. And so I wanted to try to do that for other people. And it's been a journey of like pushing myself, because I remember a couple of times I felt like this nudge, like, pray. And I thought, seriously, I'm going to suck. I was talking to all these...
I'm always so scared I'm going to say something stupid.
Yes, right? And I remember saying it, but this is what I found is I did it to a group of police officers they weren't in uniform, so it was a off-duty conference or something like that. And I knew I wasn't in a place to do it, but I felt that urge. And so I said, guys, if you'll just indulge me, I just want to pray over you. It's just my faith, and if you don't mind. And I stumbled through it, but I said, look, I know I'm stumbling, but I hope you hear my heart, right? And so that's kind of the way I did it. And I got a lot of good feedback from people, even though it wasn't like a great eloquent prayer, and I knew going in it wasn't going to be, but I just felt that urge to do it. And what I found is that people are so kind about it because they know that it takes courage to pray out loud. I mean, and I find the more conversational, the better. And even if it's like, there are times where I'm praying and I go, God, I know I don't know even what I'm trying to say, but I'm just asking the Holy Spirit to translate, because you know my heart. I just think you have to give yourself freedom to not have it all figured out.
Yeah. Well, you do it very well.
Thank you.
Is there any preachers or anybody that you kind of look up to, or?
Yes. I guess I'm listening to myself a little bit. I think I'm just like anti-establishment, independent, rebellious, sort of weird that way. So I never really followed what other people followed, right? I'd go to small churches where I just loved the, pastor or whatever. But when I was painting my old house, getting it ready to sell, I got an audiobook by Billy Graham called Leading with Love. And some of the things he said in there were so poignant. And one of the things he said that I absolutely loved is he talked to a group of guys that he was starting out with, and he said, what are the main pitfalls for people who are evangelists? And they said it was sex, money, power, and he just decided,
Sorry.
I should just keep talking, but I have weird faces when I talk, or all the time anyway.
Oh my gosh, that's
photo
so cute.
So, she matches my boots too. So I thought it was really cool, because they said, okay, if those are the problems, how are we going to avoid and just make sure we're not even tempted? And so one of the things I loved is that I think he knew he could trust himself, but he also knew that evil is evil and it tempts all of us at times. And so how could he just remove the temptation? And so they did things, they wouldn't even accept money at all. It didn't go in their hands. It went to an accountant. And I just loved some of those ways that he attacked life. on a realistic level. And one of the things I loved is in his older years too, he was failing in health a little bit, and some of his board members were like, we're independently wealthy, we're not going to take money from privately, our private funds, we want to get you a corporate jet to fly on. And he thought about it overnight, and he said, I just don't think that that's going to look right to people, or that people are going to think that we did this the right way, even if we did. So I'm going to go ahead and just fly commercial. And I thought, that takes some discipline. If you're not feeling good, you've lived a good life, you've given to a lot of people to say, and okay, that's another thing. I have to live a life where I don't care what people say about me. And I know he had a different experience, but the other thing that I liked is he said if somebody really had an issue with him, was a big-time critic, that could be pretty painful. He would ask them to sit down and talk, and he would just talk with them. And I think that takes a lot of courage, but he would leave where he got, most of the time, a really positive, he would turn a critic into sort of a friend. Yeah.
Have you seen the movie about, I forget what they call it, but it's the Mr. Rogers movie?
No, but I've heard it's amazing.
It's
I need
the
to
same
see that.
thing.
It is?
He's taking a journalist that was wanting to write kind of a hit, Mr. Rogers was a bullshit tech person.
Yeah.
He wanted to write a hit piece, and he was like, well, if you're going to write something about me, we have to spend time together.
Oh.
And he would stall. And so every time they would, spoiler alert, I'm telling this whole movie.
Okay, good. Now I may not watch it more because you're a good storyteller.
But anyway, I'm not going to... Pretty much the whole movie is him stalling and getting to know this journalist, and the journalist getting to see his heart.
Yeah.
And even as bad as he wanted to write, not that he wanted to write something bad about him, he just didn't... The journalist truly didn't believe someone could be so good.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Because if you are a good person and if you're trying to do the right thing, I think there's a spiritual attack that comes on it, but I also think just people, right?
Yeah.
And they come to it with their own reasons that probably have nothing to do with you. But I have looked at that and thought, okay, so why wouldn't I? Because there have been times where I'm like, why don't I just call this person and talk to them? One is, I think you have to be choosy, right? They have to be interested in hearing you too. And if they're not, there's no point in it. You can't talk to somebody who has no curiosity. But the other thing is, when you go, how do you not see my heart, right? Like, you can look at people and go, you've known, but how? And I think sometimes it isn't about your heart. They truly aren't looking at you at all. Yeah, it's about whatever they need to do.
I've had to learn that the hard way over the last, 10 years being with Marcus, because I try to look at everybody with a clear slate, but there are some people out there that have this predisposition, like they want to think of you a certain way. Maybe they heard something you said and they took it wrong or whatever it is. And they want to prove that you're a bad person because of that. And it's like, people, get off your high horse. You don't have to be haters.
No, you don't.
Like, live your own life.
Yeah.
Why sit there and try to bring someone else down so hard and live your life for it?
Yeah.
There's somebody that actively...
Let's take a second to thank our incredible sponsors over at Navy Federal Credit Union. They are a great sponsor for the show. They've been doing it now for 2 years. We love them. We got to talk about them for a second because they do so much for us. If you're an active duty service member, veteran, DOD civilian, or military family member, you can join Navy Federal. That means if you've served in any branch of the military, it doesn't have to be the Navy. It could be Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard. You can join Navy Federal Credit Union. And again, family members too. On average, Navy Federal members earn and save $361 more per year. You could pay no fees, get their amazing low rates and rate discounts, plus earn cash back and grow your savings. Navy Federal puts members first by helping them save money, make money, and enjoy peace of mind and security through personalized around-the-clock service. Plus, now is the perfect time to join. If you have a large credit card balance after the holidays, they can help you rebalance those priorities. Make a plan to do away with that high interest credit card debt by transferring your balance to a Navy Federal credit card. With their low intro APR and no balance transfer fees, you can pick the right card to help you take back control. Dollar value of Navy Federal's 2019 member give back study, 5.9 to 18% variable APRs based on product type and credit worthiness, up to $1 cash advance transaction fee at non-Navy Federal ATMs. To learn more, visit NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union, our members are the mission.
It does that to Marcus, and which in turn does it to me, and it's very hurtful, and I know that you have it tenfold. But
well, yeah, but it is. But you know, the good news, the blessing in it, right? Because it's extraordinarily painful, especially the closer you get. And if people are even lying, you know, there were people that said Chris and I weren't living under the same roof when he died. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you even, you know? I mean, number one, there are so many people, and we were going out to dinner with people that night. I mean, you know, say we have a lot of neighbors. It's not like, but the other thing is, I thought, okay, there's a need that they have to put their feelings into anger, because when you can be angry, you don't have to feel hurt. Mm-hmm. And so they obviously have a hurt that they're not willing to address, and so they put it on you, and it really does say more about them than you. It is hard when you're the recipient or when they're telling other people. But then I have to think, well, the people that are listening are, if they're embracing that, they're those people that are always going to embrace it. Yeah. You are really good about, I mean, I could be skeptical about some people, and you're really good about saying, yeah, but, I mean, we just talked about somebody before the show, and it was like, you know, I kind of have seen and heard this, and I just don't know. And your point was, but they're just a phenomenal parent. Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah, that would get me too. Like, I would be like, okay, we're in. Yeah, great. You know, because none of us are perfect at the end of the day.
Right.
And all of us can take one part of somebody's life and twist it. Like, I feel like there's a fabulous novel that we should write, or somebody should write, that's about a story, you know, and I know there are some of these, but seen from 10 different lenses. They could be 10 different stories if you wanted them to be.
Right.
You know, so it's just, I think there comes a point where we just go, there's an overriding arc to what you see from somebody, and you just give them credit for that. There's no reason to nitpick, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good point.
And the truth comes out. I will say this. People who are mean and hateful, there might be a group of people who believe those haters at first, but if they're around them long enough, it'll eventually turn on them. Or they'll see it on so many people that go, oh, you know what? Probably none of it was true, because they say that about a lot of people.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
That's true. I just have to block it out of my mind.
Yeah, because it takes years for people to figure it out, usually.
Yeah. Well, and I get so emotionally invested. I don't do stress well. Yeah. And it affects my health.
Yeah.
So if I get stressed out, I get physically ill.
Yeah.
And I
kind of had to smile a little bit, though, because I was like, do you handle everybody else's stress like you're...
Well, that's the problem, is magic. I absorb other... Like, if someone's hating on it, like, I'll feel that hate. Yeah. Like, I'm not... for whatever reason, I don't know why God gave me this, but I can feel other people's feelings.
Yes. Yep.
And that's why I have to be very picky about who I have around me.
Yep.
Because I can't handle anger like that. I can't handle pain very well. Unless it's a pain from, you know, like, what I can't handle. Your friend's child dying, your friend's husband dying. Stuff like that. I feel like God gave me a gift of comfort.
Yeah, for sure.
And I want to be there to comfort if I can. If I'm not helping, then I will remove myself from that situation.
That's right, yep.
But if I can help, I want to be there to help. But anyway, moving on from that. One of your posts that you made that is one of the most impactful things that I've ever read is your 7-year post. And how you had given yourself 7 years to basically, like, figure it out and cope, and you would feel like you would feel some sort of healing at that point. Yeah. And you've reached that 7 years. Where, now that it's 7 years plus 26 days.
Dude, days. Good. That's awesome. That's really good. I'm like, what year
25
is it?
days. Yeah. How do you feel now, and what do you feel like the next 7 years will be?
That's a great question. So, I feel now, it's interesting because I know I'll be a lifelong learner. That's just how I am, and I like to develop. But the 7 year with respect to Chris was huge for me, and I think it released some of that pressure for me. But then the other side of me says, at the same time, there are things I'm sure people will find out at some point later down the line that are still like these attacks that come in that I'm dealing with. And I think, okay, so that part of my life hasn't changed, but I've changed in the way that it doesn't have to define me or take me out of the game, right? It might for a few days, it might for a week or two sometimes, depending on how big the hits are, but I've been able to figure out this ability to say, time does, I'll heal in time, God will heal me in time, and these things, so it doesn't really matter that much. So I am in a weird place right now because I'm overloaded with work and projects, and I haven't quite figured out where to make my balances, and I think, how did I get to this place again? Because I'm feeling that mountain of stress that I felt back after Chris was killed, not grief-wise, but I would say 2 or 3 years in where I wasn't managing things as well as I want. So that's a repeated thing. I'm not managing things as well as I wanted, but it's a week instead of a year, right? And I'm going, okay, I recognize this. I know how to do this. I just need to take a break. I need to, reorganize. And so I think it's interesting to me that you asked that today, because I would have probably said a few weeks ago, I'm amazing. And today I'm like, ugh, I'm always going to be some part of me is going to be a mess. But I do feel pretty good about the way that I know how to cope with it. And one of the primary ways to cope with it is to find some time to play, find some time to check out, and you come back 10 times more effective, efficiently. In 7 years, so that is a really great question, because on the one hand, my normal response is I've decided to not ever feel like I can predict anything anymore, and that's sort of a protective mechanism, a realistic mechanism, that kind of thing. But I look at it and I think my kids will be out of the house, which will be really different for me, and I'll have a different, maybe sort of freedom depending on what they're doing, and if, who knows, right? They're playing sports or something, and I'm sure I'd like to go see some of their games or whatever. If they're not in college,
you're going to want to move to wherever they are.
Yeah, but I'm not going to. That's the thing.
If I wasn't married, I probably would have.
I know, you would have an apartment. Oh, you totally would. And you know what? And Hunter would love it, and you wouldn't be all up in his business, but you'd just be there for him to hang out with, right?
I guarantee you he wouldn't have a boot on his leg right now from not going to the hospital on time.
Oh God, when you said boot, dude, I immediately thought of the prison anklet. I was like, what the
gosh,
hell?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Please, Lord, no.
What do they call those? They call
the ankle bracelet?
Yeah, but I thought it was, anyways, the boot from breaking his foot or something?
He stepped on glass several weeks ago, never got it taken out, and now it's so far in there they need it to come out on its own, and they put a special boot on him so he doesn't put pressure on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm like, Hunter, what are you doing?
Yeah, because you talk to him all the time. Why didn't he tell you this?
Yeah, go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw him last week, he was limping. I said, why are you limping? He goes, well, a few weeks ago. Like, Hunter, you have to make better decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that you're making good grades. And that's the overall goal here, but you need to make better decisions.
For your health. Yeah, that's awesome.
Important.
I know, that's funny. But I feel like I remember my son was saying the other day, he's like, well, this is actually a year ago, maybe, I don't know. But one of my friends was like, dude, you know what he sort of said to me? He goes, I know, people always say that you're going to get sick of your mom. He goes, but I don't really think so. I actually just like hanging out with her, just as a person, And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I know, and so he's really good about that stuff, and I feel like my daughter and I are the same, but we just didn't have the occasion to say that, and it's different sometimes with, I don't know. Who knows? I can't predict it was what I was going to say, because I feel like I'm really close with both of them, but I want them to live their own lives, but who knows what happens, and I do think that I'll be in a place, though, where maybe I'll be able to work out more, you know what I mean? And maybe I'll be able to, and I could make time. I don't make as much time as I want to, but I'm just saying, I feel they're always going to be first. While I have them, they're always going to be first. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that I self-sacrifice. I'm just saying it's the work and them, and I choose not to. I could easily go work out if I wanted to, but I usually have something. Anyway, longer and involved story, but yeah.
Somebody asked me not too long ago how you were doing, and they said, she always seems so busy. And I said, that's relative, because yes, she's super busy, but she purposely takes so much time out for her children that it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's
got what I do,
Yeah, to you, it's very busy.
Yep.
But to her, she's doing what she needs to do.
Yeah.
And to her kids, she's doing what she needs to. She's managing her time how she needs to do it. And I think that that's beautiful, that you can, with all of the outside noise going on, everybody pulling at you in every way that that they do, you're you put that wall up, and you're okay, my kids are first and foremost, and then I'll do other stuff.
It is interesting because so they're at different time schedules and stuff, so we do a lot of, it's not just one trip to drop and pick up, but I always do the drop-offs and the pickups and everything, And so during those hours when they're at school, it's like a crazed maniac trying to like get work stuff and, you know, just, you know, get stuff done, because I do, when I pick them up, not want to be doing that. And then they have sports and activities and dinner, and, you know, then I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out.
Driving?
Not yet, permit, but not actual license, yeah.
Oh, I thought he was driving.
Not yet, close. I probably sent you a picture of him driving, but it's a permit.
Is he going to drive her when he...
He will, he can.
Okay.
He's really good. I think he's a better driver than I am already. But the thing is that that will change things. I know that'll be a cool change. But I need to sleep, because sometimes it's like, okay, I really do. Like, I still literally lay down with them before they go to sleep or whatever, you know, just because we're talking about stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's just different because I don't have a husband waiting for me in the bed either, you know what I mean? So
I
do that. And so then by the time, you know, I'm up before him and in bed after, but then I'll fix some other things. Okay, so set all that aside, and I just learned the coolest thing. Enneagrams. Have you ever done that, right?
I'm not diagnosed ADD, but I'm definitely ADD.
Yes.
And I can't finish it.
Yeah. The test?
Yeah, and I like too many different things. It only lets you choose one, and I'm like, no, I need a top 3.
I think I already know what you are then, because there's one personality type on there, and it's mine, and we're afraid to commit to one because we like more. Yeah. And there's, you know,
I can't.
Yeah. So okay, I'll send you a really simple fast test that I did that I can focus on. But one of the things that is true about this number is that new adventure, the more the better. If I'm stressed, like I want to focus on something fun. And so, or something that's interesting, or get my mind in something that interests me rather than sit in pain, right? And so that explains so much about why I've put so much on my plate since the day Chris died, and I still had to deal with the pain, and I had to find the ways in the different, you know, alternative kinds of therapies with EMDR, and so as muscle release and ETTIA, and I mean, you know, acupuncture, whatever, you name it, we've experienced a really, we've had really good results with it. But I do realize that the parameters I have to put on that are to realize that that's going to be my tendency, and so I need to shut it off and be healthy. I can shut it off for my kids, but I have to, even after that, shut it off for me to be healthy, right? So I was
because if you're giving too much of yourself, it's not going to be healthy.
Right, because I do a lot for free. That's actually the biggest thing, is that my heart says, so I run the foundation for free, and then I'll do speaking stuff sometimes for free. I try not to do too much of that, because they're usually not during, because it's usually not during the time that they're in school.
That's the biggest thing I try to explain to people, is if you, or if it's Marcus, whoever, is taking time, and I know that it's going to bless your organization. Yes. But it's taking away from his or her family.
It is. It's there. I heard it said so well one time when they said, every yes I give you is a no I give my family. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, that's that. That makes it very succinct and clear. But so I think that's the thing I'm wondering about, and I have to pay attention to, is my heart will always say help. And so I sometimes will plan so much of that, because I'll look at the calendar and go, oh, I can fit that in there, forgetting that I've committed to write a book and do a jewelry line and do all of these other things. And then all of a sudden when those times come, I'm like, you know, ready to
get frustrated.
Crack, because I didn't do it well enough. So I do like to have a lot of things going at once, so that kind of ADD creative side can go, oh, I've done a little adventure here.
Multitasking.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so fun tip. Do you know it's physiologically not possible?
Really? To multitask?
Your brain cannot do two things at once, which is why burn victims, they're putting like these really elaborate games on in goggles, because the brain can't do two things at once. It can't even feel the pain. But it has to be so elaborate that it sucks them in enough to kind of... So what we're doing is we're bouncing back and forth. So like if I'm talking to you and I'm kind of paying attention to the dog on the floor, right, my brain's actually bouncing back and forth. So the more we multitask, the more ADD we get, because we're training our brain to do it more.
Yeah, that's not
But
good.
the more ADD you are, the more you multitask. And so it's like a very vicious cycle.
I pride myself on being a professional multitasker.
You are, but you're brilliant at it, right? But if you realize you're tired at the end of the day, one of the things you can try, and I try it sometimes, is you'll have to leave your phone in another room. You have to leave it in another room, and then say, okay, I'm going to focus on this for 20 minutes and set a timer and see if you can do it. You probably feel like you're going to lose your mind.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you're missing something.
I check my emails when I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I check my emails when I wake up. And for some reason, there are always emails when I go to bed.
Of course there are, because
when
you're busy.
I wake up before the sun rises.
Yeah, that's because you also have a million things. And also a million people to help. Like if somebody says, Melanie, can you help us? You're like, yes. When? Who knows? I'll just get, get it done. You're good at emails, though. Emails and voicemails I suck at, and I just left a new voice recording on my voicemails. It said, full disclosure, I suck at getting back to people on voicemail. Leave one if you want, but if you really want to get a hold of me, text me.
I need to do that.
Well, I just was like, I feel bad for people because I'm really bad about emails, and they probably think I'm in voicemails, but...
I always check emails, but I never check voicemails. Don't even leave a voicemail for me.
Okay, there's a meme that you need to do. It says, like, hi, it's Melanie. I haven't checked my voicemail since 2005.
Right?
That's probably your,
Since a flip phone.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Go ahead and...
Yeah, leave one if you want, but I'll never get it.
Oh
so,
my gosh.
I know. It's fun.
Well, I could talk to you all day long.
I know. I could talk to you all day long, too. I don't know how long we've gone, but probably there's nobody listening still.
About an hour and a half.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to talk about that you have going on, your jewelry or anything?
Yeah, I mean, so we're pretty excited about it, and I'll let you know when it comes out, but it's a faith-based jewelry line, and I have a faith-based children's book. So I don't know. I mean, like you said, I'm doing a lot, so if people want to find out, they could go on Instagram or something and find me there, and I'll try to keep people updated, but I'm hoping that some of these projects that will be paying gigs will be start kicking in along with the other stuff. But, I mean, honestly, even those, we're always giving percentages away, and I mean, I feel good about it, and I think that's important. I know you guys do the same thing, but yeah, I don't really think so. Although I kind of feel like I want to interview you. Having said that, Andrew's like, we've been here in an hour and a half. We won't. Okay, but what's your craziest fashion trend?
Me?
Yeah, that you've done.
Oh gosh, I'm anti-fashion.
Mm-hmm. But you've always looked fashionable, so.
I've always been the bum.
Okay, but you're fierce with your shoes. Your shoe collection is...
Yeah, I am, but a lot of it is when Marcus and I first met, he didn't know what to buy me, and he only bought me shoes.
Really?
For years.
Like stilettos?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's
Never
hilarious. That's hilarious.
Never
I didn't know that.
I hate stilettos.
Well, I know. I mean, I've seen you at some events wearing them, but the funny thing is, I've seen your closet with them in there.
Oh
and
my
it's
gosh,
like,
my closet is fabulous.
Yes. Okay.
It's not a good representation of me.
Right. I know, but I figured.
Which is why I have a really badass Poshmark.
Oh. Can you next teach me how to do that? Actually, I do need to know how to do that. Is there like a handle for you on that?
I don't even know what it is. It's not my name. But I'm addicted to Poshmark.
Awesome.
I like a bargain.
Oh yeah.
And I like being able to make money. I feel like we've, especially us and like the community that we're in, we're always expected, like you just said, we're always giving percentage back. It is expected of us to work for free.
I know, which is weird.
Which really sucks, because before I met Marcus, I was never expected to work
for free.
Yes,
you were allowed to make a living.
But then I married him, and everyone expects him to work for free because he suffered.
Yeah. I know.
That's really...
It's backward.
But I'm a business person, and I come from a business family.
Strong business family, yeah.
So I don't understand that.
No. And you know what's interesting? This is good for you to know, too. It says in the Bible, pay the workman what the workman is due.
Yeah.
And so if that helps you at all, it's biblical that we are not expected to work for free.
Right.
We can do a lot of stuff for free and for good, of course. But
Right.
that shouldn't be the expectation that anybody is supposed to... it's nice. We can do it once in a while, but it shouldn't be the norm. Really.
Well, and I do a lot of things
I know
for
you do.
free.
You
I
guys
mean,
do a
shit, I
ton
don't
of
get
stuff.
paid. I'm not getting paid right now.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Jesus, I'll pay you, Melanie.
I mean, I don't do any of this team
Melanie,
input
you do
stuff.
more for people than anybody would ever imagine.
But I do, when I see other people working for free, it makes me mad, because I'm like, they are worth
money,
their time. I'm not saying they need to be millionaires or whatever. I'm just saying, if you go and spend 5 hours doing something, you're going to expect to get paid for that 5 hours. Why would you expect someone who suffered and that you want them to share their trauma to do it for free?
Yeah, because you do get emotionally wasted after you share your trauma.
I have a very hard time with that.
That's because you see outside of yourself.
Well, and I think it is because I come from a family that creates businesses, and I have a day job, people.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually have a day job, and I get paid for that day job.
Yeah,
but
But there's value. You've seen how they are able to accumulate, wealth and make smart business decisions because it's business. Like, their decisions. It's a non-emotional contractual
right.
exchange that makes sense. And so why is that not the truth over here? Right. I think that's the point.
have a hard time with that with military. It's very expected with military people, especially that have suffered, whether it's physical trauma
I know, it's weird.
or emotional trauma.
And they didn't get paid a lot in the military either, by the way.
Fuck no.
Yeah, so.
And I mean, sorry, I cuss too much, but
I think you really didn't cuss that much, unless it's just because I cuss a lot. I don't know.
But I mean, we have the Team Never Quit Speakers Bureau. I mean, you obviously know that. But for the listeners out there, we get so many requests for Taya, for Chad Fleming, for different people to leave their home, to go to another state, spend the night, and go spend time with people for free.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just think about that.
Yeah.
If you're the one asking, I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just saying, think about it.
Yeah.
Think about what you're asking.
Because a lot of people don't like to travel an overnight or 2 nights is a big deal.
Yeah,
for
and they're like, oh, it's just one night, and they'll have fun. We're gonna make it fun for them. No, it's actually
it's work.
It's work.
Yeah.
And their child that's home with a sitter doesn't think that that's fun.
That's true.
So that's something I've never addressed publicly, but I do have a resentment. So I'm just gonna let that out.
Here it is.
And show you that I do hold that resentment to people, and I know people don't think about it, and that's I guess why I want to address it, because it is something that people need to realize before they not only ask but sometimes get mad at the answer no.
Yeah. The mad part is
don't get mad.
Yeah.
Like,
I won't be mad at you if you don't volunteer at my next event.
Right. Like if I'm gonna ask you to take off of work and come help me with my garden, I'm not gonna get pissed if you say no.
Do you know I would die? Like, that's the other thing. When my kids are in college, we are gardening.
I mean, my dream is to have a flower farm.
Seriously, I fall asleep. You know what? I fall asleep looking at different flowers and plants consistently.
Me too.
So I'm obsessed with it.
That's
I
all
know,
I
but
do.
you have success with it. And I dabble. But one day.
Yeah. One day I'm gonna be a flower farmer. I have a
What kind of flowers?
I want to do cut flowers.
Yeah, but like peonies, all of them.
So, have you heard of Farm Girl Flowers?
Yep.
I want to be her biggest competitor.
Ooh, I love throw down. The gauntlet was just thrown down.
I just dropped it. Mic drop.
Bam. You could do that like in a heartbeat, though.
But the thing I want to do is, I want to do it either like cut flowers from my own farm and from local sources.
Yeah.
I've established some relationships with other local flower farmers that I love, where she gets her stuff international.
Yeah. You'll do it, Melanie. If you want something, it's happening. So I can't wait until it's actually
I'm very strategic about it, though, so it'll take a while. Yeah. But I also have, like you, I have a million things that I want to do for me.
I know.
And one of that is this big, like, outdoor lifestyle brand of, I would love to be able to harvest my own tea and do that line. It's still in my head. I really want to do it, but I want to do it under this one big brand.
Okay. Yep.
I just one day.
You'll get it. I know. It's like all the pieces are kind of like, it's like what's that, Plinko or whatever word is like this. I feel like sometimes that's life. Like they're still coming down the pike and they're gonna settle and then it's gonna be like
one day.
Watch out. That'll happen. And I saw the chapel pulling in and I was like, you might have something like that going one day too.
My gosh, one day if I could get that. They just want so much money for it and I can't afford it. But one day.
One day. Or you build your own, you know what I mean? Around at the flower farm. A chapel at the flower farm.
I know.
Shut up, that'd be
Come
so
on, that would just be dreamy. So my therapy is gardening.
Me too, yep.
Or traveling, which
Me too.
with kids it's so hard. You have to work around their schedules.
Yeah.
But so gardening is my thing.
So we'll garden and travel.
But speaking of therapy, and I think this will be helpful for other people, I've met your therapist, and I love her so much. Do you want to share that method at all?
You're talking about Lana?
Uh-huh.
So, ETTIA is what it is, like Echo, Tango. What's the I?
I don't know. Igloo?
Well, sure, let's go with that. A alpha, whatever that is. I usually, it's so funny, I'm like, T like Tom. I mean, I don't know the military.
Yeah. G like God.
Yeah, exactly. F like faith. Yeah. J like Jesus. So, Anyway, it's really cool stuff, but it's all sort of brain pathway stuff. And so instead of having to talk about your trauma, which just has you relive it, you use your eye movements. And for hers, that ETTIA, it's an organization. You can look for your zip code, but you look at different colors and they expand and contract, and it's a diagnostic tool to what emotion is actually causing you the most pain. And I just find the way that our brains are, it's all scientific based. You can look at brain mapping and figure it out. It's the coolest stuff, and it's so non-threatening. It's just you're looking at colors in different ways, and your eyes will do the work. They'll expand them or contract them and tell you what your problem is. And I freaking love that stuff. But she moved to Austin.
Oh, she did.
Mm-hmm. So you gotta go to Austin to see her.
Yeah,
Every once in a while she comes back to my area, but.
Awesome. Thanks for spending the day with us.
Thank you for having me and bringing me down to Houston.
Yeah.